ceux
Sometimes I think we get stuck because we're like, I've had so much inner transformation that I feel like this practice is mine, right? And it's mine to do what I want with. But just because you've experienced transformation from it and benefit from yoga doesn't mean yoga is yours to do whatever you want with it. And I think that
Hi. So I thought we'd just come here and kind of explain a little bit more with a series of stories that I am doing today on cultural appropriation and what, kind of morphed into being more like cultural appropriation related to yoga. But the conversation about cultural appropriation is much larger than this and goes and permeates in a lot of ways that we are not just so used to see in our daily lives. So in my opinion, all the examples that are shared are examples of cultural appropriation. I put the definition in there, and especially because we're removing sacred objects, words from sacred languages, sacred practices, and trying to dissociate it with its history, with its people, with its background, in order to profit out of it. So I take a big problem when, like grocery stores or a big box, stores, and they're trying to take profit from, Buddha, images of Buddha, or like patterns that come from indigenous peoples. I take problem with that. But there's also the folks like myself and so many others that learn about yoga, learn about Reiki, and fall in love with these practices because it has offered us so much that we want to teach it, we want to show it to the world, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think people should stop practicing. I feel like people should start inviting more of this conversation into the practice, bringing in the other limbs of yoga, for example, and the history and the context that these practices have been embedded in, and also the fact that a lot of times these cultures that we're getting these practices from, for specifically like yoga with like the Indian cultures and the Japanese cultures with Reiki, they suffered a lot with colonialism, and their own people really weren't allowed to practice these like sacred ancient practices that have been in their culture for generations. So we are in a very privileged position to be able to practice it. So obviously I am no morality police. I'm not here to say what's right, what's wrong. I just been doing this exploration, and I wanted to kind of invite that conversation, especially for the folks that are starting to practice with me, to kind of understand a little bit more of this conversation. And also just to invite other folks like me who are white, who are not part of these, cultures, that, the question that I've been asking myself is, what are the voids that I have within my own ancestry that I'm trying to fill with other peoples, with other cultures? Does that make sense? So there's no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just more about the exploration. So that's what I have for you. Thank you.